The New York Rangers are completely and utterly doomed. Whether it's this season, the following season, or the season following that, the New York Rangers are honestly the most overhyped team in hockey right now. They talk about how young and talented the team is. The team is not young for the most part. Their stars consist of 30-year-old plus players. Then they go out in free agency, and all they get is really Blake Wheeler and Jonathan Quick, two players that really should have just retired this offseason. It is honestly astonishing and embarrassing for the Rangers franchise. So let's address the first real reason and the biggest reason why the New York Rangers are doomed for the years to come, and it is cap space and outrageous contracts that they have their players signed to. We'll start with Artemi Panarin, who is nearly at $12 million AAV, and that contract runs through 2025. It is really stunning how you could pay a player that much money and he doesn't perform in the playoffs. This past season, he was a no-show in the playoffs. And I'm not a Rangers fan. I'm the opposite, but these are just the facts. You look in 2022 in the playoffs, he had that one goal in Game 7 that won it for the Rangers against the Penguins in the first round. But that was pretty much it. He was not really a player that stood out like a $12 million player should in either of the past 2 years for the playoffs. Then you look at a player like Chris Kreider, who, let's be real here, if he did not stand in front of the net, he would be a nobody. And he's being paid $6.5 million AAV, and that goes through 2026. And keep in mind his age here. That is another ridiculous contract that eats up so much cap space. Then, we're here now. Igor Shesterkin. Right now, his contract is a absolute highway robbery. $5.6 million a year. But that's 2 more years, 2023, 2024, and then he's a UFA in 2025. And if they don't do something quick in New York, they're going to lose their star goaltender. And I'm telling you, I watched their playoff series, and in the most non-biased way possible, because I'm not a Rangers fan at all, but in the most non-biased way possible, the New York Rangers would have gotten destroyed. Maybe not Game 1 and Game 2, but every other game, they would have been destroyed without Igor Shesterkin. I'll use Game 5 of that Round 1 series. If Igor Shesterkin was not in net for the New York Rangers would have lost 7-8-0. They played that horribly. Then Game 7, too, should be the biggest game. So much motivation. No, the Rangers played so bad, they would have lost 10-0 without Igor Shesterkin, because Igor Shesterkin is this team right now. And I could say this with confidence. If he was not on this team for the up-and-coming 2023-2024 season, the New York Rangers would be lucky if they were in contention for a wild card spot, because this team is so it's just not talented like you would expect a team to be, like with all these players. And this brings me to my final reason why they're doomed, is because I really thought they were going to be scary after this trade deadline. They had the best trade deadline in hockey. I know New Jersey picked up Timo Meier, and there was the Penguins thought they did something good, and that didn't pan out. But the Rangers got Vladimir Tarasenko, one of the top players that were on the market, and then Patrick Kane. The Patrick Kane, the Showtime Kane, that's been a thing for years with Rangers fans, and it's been a dream, and it finally comes true. And then he comes and like meh. It wasn't this crazy good trade that people thought it would be, and though he did play quite solid in the playoffs, not great but okay for his age. Now he has an injury. He's probably not going to be available till November, December, and he's a free agent right now. And I have my bets on Buffalo. I looked at the way he looked after Game 7. He did not look like he wanted to be there. He did not look like he wanted to be on the New York Rangers. Looking up at that scoreboard, losing 4-0, being around players that care so little about winning and just think it should be easy going because they're playing for the New York Rangers. He looked so disappointed, not in himself, but who's around him. And same with Vladimir Tarasenko, who if the Rangers had Vladimir Tarasenko this upcoming season, I would say they are still quite in it. But then they lose him to the Ottawa Senators because of this cap space problem. And this is what's going to happen. Mark my words, it's going to happen with Igor Shesterkin and all these players. They're not going to be able to re-sign them because of their cap space problems. And for hockey fans out there, especially Rangers fans, they'll just say, oh, why don't we just trade players and then we could keep Igor? And no, you can't, because when you have players that are this mediocre with such ridiculous contracts, you can't. They have no trade value. No team is going to want to have a player like Jacob Trouba, who is being paid way too much, just to be a okay captain. I mean, it's really, really a shame for Rangers fans. And I'll say now, my standings predictions videos I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. But when those come out, I don't know if I'm going to put the Rangers as this number 3 team, because right now, as of a month ago, I did have them at number 3 in the Metro. I could see them having a horrible year, falling off to number 6. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't see them being any lower than 6 because of Igor Shesterkin. But if Igor Shesterkin does not show up or gets hurt or something horrible like that for Rangers fans, the Rangers will be in a race towards the bottom of the Metro this upcoming season at the way things are looking. And I know that's a very hot take, but that is a very realistic take, and people don't like to hear it, but it is simply the truth. And I'm honestly, I think tops, the Rangers have a crazy year, stun a bunch of people. They finish second in the Metro, best, and that's very unlikely. What I think is a likely scenario is they'll be anywhere from 3rd place to 5th place. Personally, right now, if I made a standings prediction, I'd have them getting 4th place, getting in the last wild card spot. And now with the Penguins loading up with Erik Karlsson and all these ridiculous moves, I could easily see the Penguins slipping into 3rd place there. And because that top spot in the Metro is simply just a competition between the Devils and the Hurricanes at this point. That's a hard one to predict, but it's really down to those two teams. And you can never take the Rangers out of the picture here, but it's not a very likely scenario that they win the Metro this year, and it's not a very likely scenario they improve. It's very unlikely, in my opinion, that they improve from last year. Maybe they can, because they're angry about what happened last year, but I see, like last year I saw moments where that team was just so bad and even in the regular season, they'd have a few games where they would just play so horribly, and they just seem like they didn't care. And you don't see that in teams that want to win the Stanley Cup. Like, you look at teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New Jersey Devils, the Carolina Hurricanes. whenever they had a bad moment in the 2023 season, they were upset with themselves, and they showed that they had heart, and they got back out there and they got hot again, and they did their thing. The Rangers simply did not do that. They honestly, they stumbled their way through this season. They had a good season, but they stumbled their way through, and they just looked like they did not care. And that's where, because you could have the best players in the world on your team, but if your team doesn't care, you're not going to win. And it really looks like the only player that showed any heart throughout the season for the Rangers, or showed that they even cared, was Igor Shesterkin. And I'm not an Igor Shesterkin fan. I'm not a Rangers fan at all. But that's simply the truth from a third-person perspective. When he played bad, he owned up to it. The Rangers as a whole were not into that, and that is why I can't foresee a team like that winning it all. And they were very cocky, and that's in my opinion, that's why the Boston Bruins lost. They were so cocky. When they lost, they didn't look disappointed in themselves, but rather shocked that they lost, which meant that they came into that series thinking they were entitled to win just because they had a good regular season, and thought that it would be an easy win playing the worst playoff team, at least by how many points they had in the regular season. And they played poorly, and they lost, and they were stunned. And when you're a team that doesn't own up that you make mistakes a lot, that's when there's issues. And when you don't have heart and passion in how you play, that's how your team becomes doomed for years to come. Forget about the cap space like I talked about, which is, again, a big issue with that. Forget about all the other reasons I've given. But other than all of those, it's really comes down to the heart and soul that's in that team, and it's really just not there. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to try and release videos as often as possible. And please like, subscribe, share, turn on the notification bell for some more hockey content.